Welcome back. We are starting the last video instructing you how to use the shame resilience and grounding process from Sticky Emotions, a journal from getting unstuck. And this is a book that I wrote about a year ago. It is full of processes that I have been using with clients. And this is kind of the big process. Everything builds towards this. The purpose of having this exercise in here, or this process in here, is to give you a resource to guide you out of stuckness. Often we're stuck because shame is an element. But even without shame being an element, when we have overwhelming emotions or thoughts and we are kind of on replay or spiraling into a disastrous place of thinking and feeling, all the way to complete overwhelm and dysregulation. This is a tool to help us get unstuck. Now, if we're in complete overwhelm and dysregulation, we may need the help of someone to walk us through this, such as a therapist. If you're not that far into dysregulation, you may be able to just do this by yourself. It is not intended to be a fast process. This should take you some time to complete, and it's a slow, thoughtful building and introspective process. It's not a 5-minute fix like a lot of journals will claim to be. So because of the nature of this, it's going to be much easier for you just to look at the book. So I'm going to flip the camera and you'll just hear my voice, and the video will be of the book primarily. So this first page in the process is meant to help you sort out the difference between the stories we tell ourselves, how we build something up in our mind, and fill in the gaps with all kinds of assumptions. And since we're dysregulated when we're doing this, those assumptions are always going to be negative and unhelpful for the most part. So there's a place to tell what's the story you're telling yourself. And because we're going to be using these columns for both this question and this question, I suggest you use a different color of ink for the two questions, so that when you mark the two columns, the ink will correspond with the questions. So this first question is, what's the story you're telling yourself about the thing that has you upset about this experience? And this is a place to dump and put all the raw, unfiltered part of the story. And then when you read that story and you look at that, I want you to go down with the same color of ink, and you're going to mark, what are the emotions I'm feeling? If the emotion's not listed here, feel free to write in some more. These are just to help give you a little jump start on the thought process. And then mark where on your body you feel the emotions with the corresponding color of ink. And then what are the sensations that go with the emotions in your body, and mark those. Again, if the sensations you're experiencing are not on the list, you can write in anything you want. This is not intended to be restrictive. It is intended to give you a little bit of a boost and one less thing to think quite so hard about. Once you have marked the emotions where in your body and what sensations for this first question, you're going to go back and now, instead of telling yourself a story, what are the facts? Only the facts. And so where up here, you might be putting what somebody else's intentions or thoughts or what they feel is, you might be filling in gaps in those ways. Those are all assumptions. So the facts here are often going to be few. You might have 2, 3, 4 actual facts to write. And when you ignore the story, you let go of the assumptions and you look at just the facts. Using that color of ink, what emotions are present, where in your body, and what sensations. And you mark those with the corresponding ink color for this question. Sometimes the emotions are very different from here to here. Sometimes the emotions are the same, but often less intense. If you have the same emotions listed for this question as you did for this question, you might just make a note down here or in here about if there's a difference in how intensely you feel those emotions. But when you look at just the facts, it's often more calming to the nervous system. after you've done that, we're going to look at peeling apart other things that may be influencing how we've created the story and how we're experiencing the situation that has led to us feeling so dysregulated. So the first question is, how does this first narrative serve me? And what I mean by serve is it helpful, unhelpful, constructive, destructive, regulating, dysregulating, calming, activating? Look at the story you tell yourself in the first question and think about, how does it serve you? Then, how do the facts serve me? Same thing. Is it helpful, unhelpful, constructive, destructive, etc.? So you're going to write that here. And some people just like to say it serves me well or it doesn't serve me well, and that is fine also. Does this feel similar to anything in the past, and what is it in what ways? So when I'm asking the question about similarity, what I'm looking for is there another situation or experience in your life where the situation was similar, or are the emotions you're experiencing similar to the emotions you experienced with something else in the past? So the similarity could be in the situation or in the emotional response, or both. So does it feel similar to anything from my past? If so, what and in what ways? So you're just going to identify the similarities here, if there are any. How much does the past seem to be flooding forward into this current situation? I'm not asking for a scientific measure here. I just want you to give some thought to, is it flooding forward a lot, a little bit, not at all, completely? And so just kind of identify how much you feel like it's flooding forward. And then look at, how does this connection to the familiar or past serve you? Again, the serve you, is it helpful, unhelpful, constructive, destructive, etc.? So if there's a connection to the past, what is it? How does it serve you? And then what is my main belief, especially about myself, attached to this situation and the emotions? And so if you come back to the front of the book, there is a set of questions to help you with that if you're just stuck and you can't think of how to respond to that question in terms of your belief. So perhaps this would help. So the fact that this experience happened to me, it must or might mean that I am fill in the blank. And if I am, whatever this was, if I am this word, it must mean blank about my place in the world or my place in this relationship. And if my place in the world or in this relationship is blank, then the world or this relationship is blank for me. So it might be that you would say, the fact that this happened to me must mean I'm stupid. If I'm stupid, it must mean that I'm not safe, or I don't have the ability to tell what's good for myself in this world and in this relationship. And if I don't know how to tell what's good for myself, then the world is not an emotionally safe place for me. I can't trust anybody. So that's an example of how you might look at what meaning you're making of the situation. Then the next question is to ask, is that true or untrue or partially true? And if it's partially true, you explain. Most of the times, this belief is not true, or it's only partially true. But sometimes it might feel true. And I want you to look at the difference then. Here, when you're asking this question, don't go with how you feel. Go with like more the logic. Is this true or not? Yes or no, or partially. And then how well does this belief serve you? Again, serve, helpful, unhelpful, etc. Then you're going to look, is there anything different I would like to try that might serve me better? And what would that be? And here, if you are drawing a blank, that is fine. I don't want you to feel bad about that. It's just an opportunity for you. If you already have an idea, or you want to come up with an idea of something that you can try differently than telling yourself the story, and during all of this dysregulation, then there's a place for you to jot down some ideas or thoughts about what you could do different besides tell yourself a story. And these questions, like, I'm going through this fast, but when you're feeling the emotions of the situation, this does not usually go fast. This is something you're wrestling with and digging with, and it's hard work. It's hard emotional heavy lifting or like mental gymnastics. So take your time and give yourself the opportunity to do these pages without a lot of distraction and without a time crunch. Then we come over here, the third page of this process gives you something to try, and that would be different, that could be helpful to you. So it starts with just an invitation, and if there's any part of this that doesn't feel like it's helpful for you, you don't have to do it. It's just one idea, one suggestion, so that if on this page where you're given the opportunity to think of what would help you and you can't think of anything, or you just want some more support, here's an idea. Here's something given to you. So first, sit still and silent in a comfortable position with your thoughts and emotions for a few minutes. And I'm talking 2 to 5 minutes, so not a ton of time, but if you're uncomfortable, 2 to 5 can feel really long. So you might set a timer or just notice on the clock so that you don't jump out of it too quickly. Silently to yourself, name and notice the emotions and the sensations and where in your body you experience these emotions. So you're drawing from this process that we first did. Breathe deeply from the diaphragm. Breathe into the places in your body where the emotions and sensations are being held by focusing on these bodily areas as you breathe in and out. So we talk about breathe into the pain, and that just means paying attention to those places in your body that hold the difficult emotions as you breathe in, and then exhale and metaphorically let that pain, that discomfort, those hard emotions begin to dissipate from your body as you breathe out. Place your hands on your chest and over your sternum, or on opposite shoulders, and tap your shoulders lightly as you do the next 2 steps. So in one example, you might kind of hold your heart, or the other, you're going to tap your shoulders. You've got those 2 options, or something else serves you better, you can do that. You can opt in or out of any part of this process. So as you're tapping your shoulders or touching your, kind of connecting to your heart with your hand, notice in yourself the values and authentic identities that are present in you, even in this difficult situation. Name these values, name these identities, starting with I am, and fill in the blank. So you're going back here to your wanted identities, and you're naming your wanted identities that are true of you, even in this situation. And so if you need to flip to that page in the journal to help you with that, so you're not drawing on memory during a time when your brain's not on its A game, you can look at that list. So I am, fill in the blank with your values and authentic identities from the first exercise. And then say out loud to yourself, I am enough. This difficult experience does not define me. I am enough. I am worthy. I deserve love. I love myself. I am enough. Another option for you to get into regulation is if you feel like you have really stepped out of alignment with your wanted identities, or you've been super critical of yourself in an unfair way, you can go back to the repair process that is after the wanted and unwanted identities, and then after the daily intentions. That third set of pages is the repair process. Then after you have done this process, just make a few notes. What is my experience now? Notice how you are here for yourself and whatever else is here to serve you well in this experience. Is there a new way to view or narrate this situation that will be more helpful to you? So that just gives you a couple ways. So this question here, is there a new way to narrate that, is basically giving you a chance to come back and rewrite this story you're telling yourself. So you've got the facts, and you may just choose to go with the facts alone, or you may have a more resilient way to interpret what's happening, and a way that's not casting you into so much of a victim role. Then there's some prompts in space to journal further. And this may not be able to be done in the same sitting. This may be something that you do after you've tried some new things and re-narrated your story. So it may happen later, or the next day. So again, see what questions are helpful for you to reflect on. You're going to look at what are your insights or connections that you've made during this process. What came up for you during this around the process? Thoughts, emotions, memories, bodily sensations, decisions that you made after doing this process, follow-up actions you decided to take after doing this process, when and how you followed through on the actions you decided to take. So that's where there may especially be a delay in responding to these journal questions over here, because you'll need a chance to follow up. And then how did your follow-up actions go? And what came up for you as you followed through on actions and decided to do things different? Again, what came up for you, we're looking at emotions, thoughts, memories, bodily sensations, etc. So again, I know I kind of went through that really fast, and it's probably not as interesting to look at a book as it is to a person talking. But there was no way to really capture this on the wall as effectively as I did the others, because it's not as much of a visual process as the other processes that are in the book. This one is more reflective. Again, it might be a little hard to do on your own, and if you find that being the case, then I encourage you to connect with a therapist to help walk you through this process and get some support so that you're not handling all the weight and difficulty of the emotions by yourself. And the beauty of this is it draws from these other things. It's also it's readily available. So if you're working with a therapist and you don't have on-call and urgent care availability, it gives you a resource to try to work through some things on your own and get at least to a somewhat better place, if not a great deal better place, when your therapist is unavailable. If there's a break in appointments, or you're just between appointments, and you can't go every day, it's too expensive, and it's just not possible to squeeze in that many appointments. It gives you a resource so that you can have some resilience and sense of agency, and you can act on your own behalf in a constructive manner. I hope that these videos have been a big help to you. I hope that the book Sticky Emotions, A Journal for Getting Unstuck, is a great resource for you. And feel free to reach out. You can go to my website, enrichmenttcs.com, and reach out to me through the contact page if you have any specific questions about using the journal. I wish you the best. Take care. Thanks for signing on and listening.